Welcome to Rise with Rena.
Hi, this is Rena, and I'm here today with Madam E. Madam E is our special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about you.
Thank you, Rena. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Madam E. I am the founder of Mued Mecca Medical Corporation. I'm also the founder of the Facial Foundation. I'm also a medical device inventor, award-winning. So I'm very happy to receive that recognition. And so again, I'm just happy to be here. So thank you so much.
Okay, so you started a medical center. So tell me more about that.
What's funny is that it actually happened to be a passion project. My son was born with cleft lip. I actually have a master's in jurisprudence from law school, so I have more of a legal background there. But then it just propelled into something really, really wonderful, alhamdulillah, from Allah. So I'm really thankful for Allah guiding me this way. So I kind of feel like I have my purpose there. But I ended up creating a medical device for cleft lip babies. It won an award winning design. And so now we're in the clinical validation process right now.
Okay, so how's your son now? Like, what's going on, and how does this device work? Why did it get an award?
Just the design and mechanisms that I created with my idea in the very initial stages. So I can't go into too much details due to patent regulations, but it's supposed to just assist with making more of an innovative solution than what is available right now in the cleft craniofacial spaces. And so I am so proud, alhamdulillah, that I'm the first woman to break that barrier and creating that innovative solution.
Excellent. So what goes on in the medical clinic?
In the medical sector concerning craniofacial cleft lip, there's not enough awareness. They have a lot of invasive methods that goes on, and so these tiny babies, it's very hard for them. And then as mothers and parents, we have to watch them go through these phases, and surgeries are kind of a lifelong thing for them. And so symmetry comes into play, especially when it comes to getting feeding and nutrition. They suffer with that sometimes because if they have an open palate, there's no suction. So they can't breastfeed, they can't receive milk. So my medical device is supposed to help bring in that symmetry as well. So we're hoping, inshallah, good things will come out of this.
Oh, that sounds excellent. And you've already applied for a patent. So, just to show how great and strong they are. Now, you said you also had some other projects going on. So tell me about those.
Yes. So I'm currently have a lot of experience that I've worked in. I've worked in all levels of the government. I've done some projects with them, such as energy projects with Evolve Houston, with energy from, oil and gas to renewable energies. I've contributed to a project with NASA with, energy. So I've had a lot of diversified experiences. I've dipped my hands into space, aerospace, and energy, and just, economic development. So I have a lot of those experiences, and I'm so grateful to Allah to give me those chances on projects to work at them, and, just seeing where my purpose and destiny goes.
Okay. So now, if we have some listeners here, right, that are maybe afraid of taking the next step, maybe afraid of getting a patent, or maybe they have some ideas, what would you tell them?
My first advice is definitely when you have an idea, sketch it. Write down your thought process in a journal. I think an inventor, it's always important to have an inventor's journal, so you can detail everything in your process. And then the second step would go through the Patent Academy. And the Patent Academy is a free resource to learn how to file a provisional application. And so that provisional application will allow you 1 year of your idea being protected from anyone else taking it, and let you buy time, because filing an actual provisional application, it takes a lot of detailing and a lot of formal training in order to be able to receive a patent. So you get to buy time is basically what that means when you do a provisional application. So I would definitely tell them, get a inventor's book, write down your idea, sketch your idea, and file your provisional application.
Okay. Now, it sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like some kind of risk. So, what if they're scared? Because, I mean, a provisional application, yeah. Now, this is for a U.S. patent, right? Because that's the ones that have the provisional applications.
Yes.
And where are you located? Like, where is your clinic?
I'm in Houston, Texas. That's currently
Okay.
where I am right now. That's where my business formated. I actually reside overseas, but I came here. So, but yes, I submitted my application. Doesn't matter where you are, as long as you're in the United States, because the USPTO office is a federal regulated office. So no matter where you are, you can submit online your application.
All right, that's good to know. So, yeah, because getting a patent or getting a patent agent or an attorney. I used to be an electrical engineer, so I have a little of the experience in the patents thing. And of course, I love Houston because I went to Texas A&M, so Houston was my, IAH and Hobby were my base airports getting back home. So great Texas connection. So let me ask you, if someone has a child with cleft lip, how do they contact you? How do they find out more?
So you can definitely reach me out on LinkedIn. My company page is on LinkedIn, my nonprofit. We're always looking to raise funding to help babies globally as well with the cleft space to get that medical treatment as well. So my nonprofit here, the FACEA Foundation, is also on LinkedIn. So you can also search for the community. You can find us on LaunchGood, our crowdfunding platform. You can follow our social media, which is on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then, of course, if you want to connect with me personally, you can find me on LinkedIn, which is also connected to my company pages.
Okay, we heard a lot about connect with me on LinkedIn and the company, but go ahead and spell it out so our listeners know exactly how to get you.
Yes. So you want to spell out MUID and then Mecca, MECCA, medical, MEDICAL, and then, of course, the FACEL Foundation. So FACEL would be spelled FAISAL, and then, of course, foundation.
Okay, so FACEL Foundation. And let's say you have someone, a child with cleft lip, okay, and they're not breastfeeding. Maybe they have some other symmetry issues. What would you give advice to a mom right now before your device is still being tested? And how would you tell her to handle that? Because you've obviously gone through that situation. And a lot of women, have issues, especially with newborns. They're so tiny and fragile, and you don't want to give them a bunch of medical trauma early on in life. So what would you do? What advice would you give a mom that's going through that?
Be as resourceful as you can. And what I mean by that is never think that your questions are too, I hate to use this word, but I'm just going to say it. Never think your questions are too stupid for anyone. Ask your questions, advocate for your child at the best level as you can. Create that relationship with your cleft team because they're going to be also the best specialists to continue to, give you resources as they can until hopefully my medical device, once it gets past the clinical validation, we can get in the hospitals and help babies further on. But just be that advocate, volunteer, get into the cleft community and learn from other parents as well and see what their tips and tricks are when it comes to cleft, care.
Okay. And my other thing, what I would say to you is that's a really interesting point you brought up, because there's a lot of, for lack of a better term, medical bullying, should I say, when you're a patient and you're going through something and these doctors are like my way or the highway, and you have questions or whatever, and they make you feel like either you're a big idiot or you don't know what's going on with your child or your body. And so, did you experience anything like that?
I think we all experienced it, no, indirectly or directly. I think my approach when I came was very like a human factor, instead of, well, I didn't know this. I maybe became, well, can you educate me a little bit about how I could go about this approach? And I think when you build that kind of communication level, they tend to be more open to saying, okay, how I can help in this way. And if you approach it that way in that communication, I think communication is really key. Then they're more receptive to it.
Yeah, I do think so. And, if you are dealing with someone in the medical field and you're not getting the support you want, I mean, it's very common. And like Madam E said, you need to change your approach and also have confidence that when you have intuition and something in your gut, it's from Allah, and you need to ask, right? You need to ask that question. You need to explore different options. And I think the only dumb question is the one you didn't ask, because uh, you're going off of half information. There are other options. These doctors are led down a very specific path by the administration, drug companies, medical guidelines. But if you can get them, like Madam E said, on a more human side and become friendly with them and all those kind of good things, I think there is an option to pick their brains and get better options for how, what kind of care you or your child can get, right?
Exactly. I mean, doctors, medical professionals, they are in a human-centered environment. So like you said, if you come and approach them in a more human factor, then they'll be more receptive. So sometimes it does take our part to change the way our communication approach is in order to reach what we're trying to achieve. And we can all work on that, everyone.
Okay, so currently you said, and this is pretty much a trend, where every time you have any kind of medical issue, they just want to cut you up. It's like, there's either some kind of magic prescription pill, and if there's not, they want to go directly to surgery. What are some of the effects of having surgery on newborns, especially for something like cleft lips, where it's not like heart surgery or stomach surgery, but what are some of the traumatic effects on the newborn, and how does, your device help with that?
It's a very high risk when it comes to doing an invasive procedure like that. But I do want to make a disclaimer. I'm not a medical professional, but just given my, speaking with some medical experts going through this journey, learning that it is very invasive, and it can be traumatizing to the child that's growing in a growth phase, when they're born. So my device helps with the preoperative stages, because the baby who has a cleft lip has to go through a treatment phase in the preoperative stages. And so my device will help with assisting two devices already that they need, which is the NAM and the DynaCleft, which the DynaCleft is a nasal evulator, and the NAM is the one that goes in the mouth to help close the palate if the child has a palate issue.
Wow. So, I mean, this must have been quite a journey for you. Like, all of a sudden you have a child and you're thrown into this world. How did you learn all this? Well, like, what was your journey like? And, like some of the emotions that you went through when you were going through all this.
Well, I'm actually a mom of three. So I had two twin daughters that never had it. And then I was told, okay, you have, this baby. Yeah. So I was like, okay, we'll just, I'll take it and run with it. And so when I was going through this journey and I started learning, I have risk management background as well. Like, I took a minor in risk management. So my risk management skills came, honed in very highly when I noticed that my son was having some risk factors with the treatment method that was already going on, such as the tape unraveling, almost swallowing a rubber band. And I was like, oh no, there has to be a better way. And there really wasn't. And so that's when the risk management skills, got me into play. And I guess you could say I have a little bit of small engineering skills. So when I was sketching my design, so, that's how it came into play, was really my risk management skills.
Now, and I think, it's really interesting because if you look at moms and how many things have been invented because of a mom had an issue, just like, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, like MAD. I mean, that all just came from one mom. So, for our listeners, if you're a mom listening to this, you have the power to change, right? You have the power to make an impact. You have the power to start a business. You have the power, like Madam E, to get a patent. You have an idea. And if it's good, all it really took, honestly, what I see is a woman that had an idea and had the confidence to pursue it, right? Had the confidence to pursue it. Now, some of our listeners, it sounds like you have a lot of support at home or a supportive family. Some of our listeners, don't have that. So, what would you say, like, how was your family support? How did you get more family support? And if someone's kind of struggling with that, what's your advice?
My advice is to definitely use the resources in the community out there. There is resources that say, if you have an idea and you're willing to be flexible and learn, reach out. And so it could be SBDC, it can be the UH Text Bridge, it can be SCORE. To be honest with you, I've reached out to them because we don't know everything, and we need experts to say, you need to go through this, loophole in order to get where the information you need, because product development, if you're an inventor, you will go through those stages. It's a lot and you don't know it all. And so saying, I need your support, I'm here to learn, is the best attitude to have, and use those resources, and everyone will be cheering for you and keep pushing you along.
So excellent. So we are about to wrap up with Madam E, and she has invented a device for helping children, babies in particular, with cleft lip. It's patent pending. And one last thing, what would you kind of final thought to leave our listeners with for kind of summing up what your mission is and what you want to see in the world?
Well, I have a word of advice for all the ladies out there. You are a diamond, and diamonds are never found as they are shining bright. They always have intense pressure. And so if you know that you're motivated for something, you have to know that you have to accept the intense pressure, but just know by the end of the journey, you'll be shining brightly. And I'm here, whether we cross paths or not, I'm here at the other end cheering for you. So stand by your principles, stand your ground, and don't let anyone ever make you feel that you're not worth whatever your idea or your journey takes you, worth anything, because you are worth more than what you think you are.
Awesome. And remind them again, how can they find you?
Yes. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Madam E. You can find my company and my nonprofit on LinkedIn as well. You can follow us on Facebook as well. And I'd be more than welcome you to connect with me. And I look forward to meeting you all.
Excellent. So we were here with Madam E. If you have a baby, if you are going through some medical challenges, if you want to find out more about patents, she's the lady to go with. All right. This recording for the podcast has been sponsored by Dream Life Ladies, www.dreamlifeladies.com.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Rise with Rena.